can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're talking about City of Beaverton 101. So I just kind of want to preface again that this is a very high level look at the City of Beaverton. And if there's any more specific questions you want to learn about a department or even the department that I'm in, which is community development, I'm always here. I can always redirect you to people who may know more. So I just want to kind of share that. And, you know, I'm glad that y'all were able to share a little bit about some of the things that y'all have engaged with the city. I'll go into depth into some of those, but I wanted to first kind of give a little Beaverton history, you know, demographic 101. So I'm going to share a little bit here. As y'all always hear at the beginning of our cohort meetings, we are on Kalapuya land. I just kind of want to, you know, honor that and honor where we are in this time, which is now currently Beaverton. Originally, this was the Atfalati village, which is meaning the place of the beaver. So there's some ties there with Native American culture. And there's obviously here, if you look at the map, we have some neighborhood areas. They're kind of grouped into 11 neighborhood associations. If you didn't know, you're living within that neighborhood association. If you want to learn more, the city website has more information about where you live in that area. You can also be involved, which I'll talk a little bit about later, how to be involved in your neighborhood association. Beaverton is the second largest city in Washington County. It's the 6th largest city in Oregon, which is, you know, quite a feat. Right now, the population is 99,225. Just to say that is the 2020 census. So these numbers obviously may not reflect what is actually today. We know that the pandemic really brought people in and also brought people out. So I just kind of want to, you know, preface by saying that. You know, we are, I think, pride ourselves in being a pretty diverse city. 1 in 4 people are born outside the US. 1 in 3 self-identify as a person of color. 28% speak a language other than English. Even if you walk outside here, I'm in City Hall right now, and right across is the Beaverton food carts. I see people speaking different languages, people who, you know, aren't the same. And it's just really reassuring to have that in our community and representing them in that way within our city. So that's great. Also, I want to kind of mention these numbers. These aren't, you know, I kind of want to mention that these are not, may not represent what actually is the truth, because a lot of numbers can show as undercount or overcount. So I want to be mindful of that. Also, people identify differently with race and ethnicity. If you look at the white category, a lot of those may identify as Hispanic or Latinx because that's the only option that they can provide. Or there's a lot of different identities that they may identify, and it's not reflected here in the numbers. So I just kind of want to mention that. But we do have a high population of Latinx, Asian, and Black and African American, and American Indian and Alaska Native and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander. So just kind of showing these numbers. And if you do want to learn a little bit more about you know, how are we trying to make sure that our community feels, you know, a sense of belonging? We are making sure that these communities, these specific communities of color, are feeling represented. The DEI plan is a great plan to look into, and we also have the Diversity Advisory Board, and it's a great way to be involved to make sure that all of this representation and support is actually happening for these communities. So encourage you to check that out. Okay. And I'll hold off to questions at the end. So if you have any, please hold off into the end, but excited that there's stuff happening in the chat. Okay, so the layout of the city of Beaverton, obviously you, the residents of the city of Beaverton, you basically elect your officials like city council members and the mayor. So the city council and mayor listen to you. Whatever you care about, the issues that you care about, they're going to be listening to you. And so the city manager follows what the city council and mayor are listening and hearing and what they're interested in. And the city manager is basically managing city staff. So you'll see here that the city staff are underneath the city manager. The city council and mayor do work side by side with the city attorney and the judge. So just something to kind of keep in mind that they are separated from the city manager. This layout will be changing in the next couple of years. So I'm going to talk about the reorganization in a minute. But you'll see here that underneath the city manager, we have assistant city managers. We have the community development director, which I'll be talking about this particular department, police, HR, and obviously underneath these assistant managers, there's the library and public works and finance. So, and this is by no means like everyone. There are many people who work within these departments. So this is just a high level view of what the city looks like from the structural standpoint. Okay, so community development department, which is the one that I really want to hone in on because housing lives within community development department and a lot of other important work that's being done. So we work really hard to develop a community that, has quality business environment, strong neighborhoods, well-built infrastructure and buildings. You're getting those calls to make sure that everything's running smoothly. Wonderful spaces, green spaces, places for people to gather, revitalize our downtown, and just making sure that this community is built for the community. Some examples of who lives within community development is permitting. So if you're, needing plumbing or heating and cooling or electrical permits, they can help you with that. Site development and code compliance. So need to remove a tree or fix or repair a sidewalk or a street. If there's an abandoned vehicle, if there's like rubbish or, prohibited signs, site development and code compliance works on that. Planning, so if a developer or a property owner wants to develop something within an area, they can work with planning to make sure that they're following all the steps, to make sure that they're kind of up to code, and they're being approved to do things in that area. Housing, so we work to provide funding to partners to support the community. So we make sure that, we could provide rent assistance, home repair, low-cost home ownership, and provide financial support for developers who want to build housing in the city. Economic development. We just support making sure that small businesses are thriving. We provide funding opportunities. We provide, community building opportunities, and also providing tools and technical skills if needed for small businesses and businesses within Beaverton. Parking. So we work on parking projects. Obviously, the downtown is developing and changing. So parking really needs to figure out how are they going to meet the demands of that change. So that's a big thing that they're, doing right now. And so that's another part of the community development department. So community development does a lot. And I just want to make sure that you get a sense for what we do. So we are reorganizing at the city. This is exciting news, and I hope people are excited about this as well in the public, but we are going to be adding an equity and inclusion officer to the city to better make sure that we're serving the community in an equitable way, which means we're going to be creating an equity inclusion department, and we're excited about that. And you saw in the first reorg or the organization chart, we do have 2 assistant city managers now. And that's something that's supporting some of the work, because obviously there's so much work happening at the city that more support is needed. And so making sure that those 2 assistant city managers are able to oversee some of these departments, which you'll see here, who's in charge of who, and being split up into 2 different groups. Yeah, and so just wanting to kind of preface by saying that this is the big changes that are coming, and we're excited specifically about equity inclusion department being added, and all the work that's being done there. And if you don't know who your current mayor is, it's Mayor Lacey Beatty. They were elected in November 2020. They were previously on the city council. So they have done a lot of volunteer. One cool thing about, I feel like, the city of Beaverton is if you get plugged into boards, advisory groups, commissions, that could be an opportunity for you to end up at city council or being an elected official. Some of our city council members have been in boards and commissions, so I really encourage you to check that out as an opportunity for how can you be more involved in your community. So Mayor Lacey Beatty is our mayor, and our city manager, which is the first city manager in the city. I think a couple years ago, the city had voted, and city members had voted, like, let's change the structure of the mayor and city manager structure. We only had a mayor who was overseeing the city, but now we have a city manager. So the city manager can do more of the day-to-day work, while the mayor is pretty much the face and representing constituents and making sure that that's being done in an effective way by working with the city manager. So yeah, they oversee the daily operations, administer city budget, appoint staff, obviously supervise staff, make reports and recommendations to city council about city needs. Obviously the city council is leading, and the mayor are working with the city manager to make sure that their vision and their goals are being met. So it's a very collaborative partnership in that way. Who is your Beaverton City Council members? We have a great mix here. They're all here on the screen. I wanted to mention real quick that we have a lot of great firsts on our council. Councillor Hassan is the first Muslim South Asian American woman on Beaverton City Council. Edward Kimmy is the founder of the Diversity Advisory Board and is the first immigrant counselor. And then John Duggar is the first openly LGBTQ plus city council member. So there's a lot of great firsts in our city council, and we're excited about the representation that's happening. And one thing about city council is that they represent the city. They don't represent one part of the city, and so they're hearing from everybody about what are the concerns, what are some of the things that people are really interested and engaged with. So a pretty good city council structure. So who is the housing team? So like I mentioned, the housing team does live within community development, and I wanted to focus on the housing team for a little bit because obviously we're here, the inclusive housing cohort. And I also want to preface that housing is a big need in our community, and we know that 4 people doesn't always equate to what the need is. So I just kind of want to be transparent about that. We are always wanting to expand the services within housing, and we know that that's not always in a way that's like timely or always possible, because the staff capacity is sometimes not there. But the housing action plan, which I'll talk about later, really makes sure that we prioritize what we're hearing from the community, because we know we can't do everything in 1 year, 2 years, or 3, or, but we want to make sure that we're actually prioritizing what we're hearing from the community. So just kind of want to mention that. So there are 4 of us on the team, and we all do different things, but also intersect a lot. And some of us do more of the contracts with service providers. Some of us do the community engagement, and then working with the developers if there's housing being built. So there's just a whole layer of the work that we do. But this is just some of that work. Boards and commissions. So this is a great opportunity for you to be involved. These are people who really are passionate about the city and really want to contribute in a way that is maybe a little bit more engaging and have a say on some of the more big picture and also some of the more direct work. So we really value our board and commission volunteers, and we really encourage everybody who is interested in making change in their community to participate. So there's different bodies of groups within boards and commissions. There's the decision-making boards, which is more established to advise the mayor, city council on policy or legislative issues. So the planning commission is one of those. And so just they're more ingrained in some of the more like nitty-gritty stuff. And then there's advisory boards. They're advisory, so they don't make obviously final decisions, but they are able to be included in some of those conversations around policies and programs, and having their voices heard around some of that. These are just some examples, and I know there was mention of some of these already, which is exciting. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to get on board with some of these boards. So I encourage you to kind of look into that. And, the interests are all across the board. If you like finances and money, maybe the budget committee is, what interests you. Or if you're really interested in what's happening with the library, you could be part of the library advisory board. And so it just depends on what interests you and what's something that you're passionate about. And then, like I mentioned, you can be a part of the neighborhood association committees. These are the NACs. So if you go into the website, you'll notice all the different NACs that exist. It's for anyone who lives, works, owns a business, or represents an institution, like a nonprofit, within that boundary. So if that's something that you're like, yeah, I live there, I work there, or I utilize that space, you can be part of that. It's just a great way for you to be aware of the issues in your community and how to address some of those issues. Already talked about boards and commissions. You can be police volunteers, community emergency response team, library volunteers. We talked about Center for Mediation Dialogue. They're always looking for volunteers, volunteer mediators. And so there's a lot of ways to be involved that, can meet everybody's needs. Also, something that I really want to preface is, we really try to work hard to make sure that we are representing the community, and it's important that we provide opportunities so those folks can be part of this job workforce. So there's opportunities to grow within this organization, and there's all kinds of jobs, library jobs, public works, security, facilities, all the way to some of the more, big work like transportation and planning and housing. So always, if this is something that you're interested in, I always encourage people to go to our careers page because we do want a diversity of experiences. And also, it's if you don't think you have the skill set, still consider applying, because we really feel like we're trying hard to, diversify in some of those skill sets, and just, be more available for those opportunities for folks. And then there's our website. So if you go to our community development department website, you can learn more about some of this work that we're doing. There's also the housing services website. I'm going to try to show you real quick. The community development department, you can come here, all the different, programs and departments that I mentioned, they're listed here. Yeah, just take a look around, see, what you want to learn more about. These are great ways to kind of understand what's going on in the city. So I encourage you to check that out. And then I also wanted to show housing services web page. So here you can check out, different housing services. If you're looking for resources, we have a whole resource list here. A bunch of resources here, if you're looking for renter support, if you're, trying to find affordable housing, low cost home ownership, housing repair, housing events, this is a great place to go if you want to learn more. So I just would encourage you to check that out and utilize those resources. I talked a lot. This is the portion of my presentation where we are due for a break. So I just want to check in with Ernesto before we do that. That's if we can do that.